Hello everybody, welcome to my basement shop. Today's video is going to be servicing a gravely slip clutch. It's the same process whether it's an old 3-spring clutch like this or one of the later 6-spring clutches like that. So first thing we got to do is we have to get that clutch off the machine. So these came in two basic configurations. You had the tapered clutch, which was the early one, which is what this is, or you have a spline clutch that came later. Honestly, I think the splined are a lot better because you got all of those splines holding that clutch to that shaft to keep it from spinning loose. Whereas with the earlier tapered ones, all you had was a Woodruff key in this. And if you've seen the episode 1 of this saw project, you'll see that the Woodruff key had sheared on this, and what resulted from that was just a kind of one mess after another that led to problems that we had to correct. And you can watch that video if you are interested in seeing how all of that unfolded. No need to rehash it here. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's a lot easier to use an impact to do this. But first of all, I'm in my basement and I don't have a cordless impact. And I just put this clutch on not long ago, so I really almost didn't even need a puller to pull this off. I probably could have just done that by hand. So we got the clutch off. Let's get this out of the way, open up the bench, and let's start taking this apart and working on it. So now that we've got the clutch off the tractor, the only tools we're going to need is really just a pair of 1/2-inch wrenches, because these are held together by a bolt through a spring with a lock nut on the back end. On the 6-bolt or the 6-spring clutches, you'll have to take all 6 off. On a 3-spring, you only have to take the 3. These just, you don't have to pop those things apart. So this can be a lot of fun on an older clutch. Again, I guess a handheld or a cordless impact would be an easier thing to use, but one of these days I'll buy one. I just don't happen to have one right now. So we get to fight these the old way. And I got this clutch. I bought a bunch of Gravely stuff off a guy a couple years ago, and he had a horizontal shaft off of I don't know if it was a mower. I think it was a mower. Just bolted onto the front of a tractor to like a block off plate. And a guy was nice enough just to give it to me. And the gearbox is pretty much worthless. I think the gearbox was all locked up, or the shaft was all locked up, but had this nice old 3-spring clutch. And what I really wanted was the clutch itself. So again, we take these off, all 3 of them, all 6 on a 6-spring. And I know most people, if they're going to use an attachment, they prefer to put the later 6-spring clutch on it. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think the 3-spring clutches probably work fine, but there's a reason they went to 6. It's probably just you get a little better control out of setting that clutch if you got 6 springs on it, evening out the pressure instead of just 3. Yeah. So I guess I do agree, if I'm going to use like a bush hog or something I'm going to use quite a bit, I'll put a 6-spring clutch on it. If it's an old attachment that I'm going to use very rarely or not at all, and especially if I want it period correct, I'll put the 3 on. So you take these apart, and what you're going to find is you've got the outer piece. This meshes up with your dog gear. Then you have a clutch disc. Come on. Try not to stick something under here and pry these things apart. Just wiggle them out. There we go. So you have a clutch disc. You have this center piece. I don't know what it's called, whatever. And then another clutch disc. And how this works is, whether this is splined or keyed, this attaches to the implement. And this is going to spin with the shaft of the implement. And you've got two clutches and basically like two pressure plates sandwiching it together. And if you hit something hard, this will stop and this will continue to spin with the pressure on those clutches, and it'll keep from tearing up your machine. So what we need to do is clean all these surfaces off, and then we'll put it back together and set it, and I'll show you how to do that. My old standby for parts cleaning: steel wool and naphtha. It cuts through thick, greasy, nasty stuff that you see on these old machines. And if it's thick, the grime that you're cleaning up is really thick, then you call it a brush works well. So we'll clean this up. I've got some rust out here, but I don't want to take a wire wheel and score up this surface, because that surface needs to be nice and flat to mate up with the clutch. If you take a wire wheel to this metal piece and you put a bunch of scratches in there, this clutch isn't going to work like it's supposed to. It's designed to work with a nice, perfectly flat surface, not one that's all scored up. So just a little elbow grease, a little steel wool, and clean all that gunk right off of there. Nothing to it. So now it's time to put this clutch back together. And basically, again, you've got, for lack of a better description, your back plate, your centerpiece, your front plate, two clutch discs, and then bolt springs and lock nuts. So how this goes back together is you're going to basically put your clutch plates on your centerpiece, make a sandwich out of it. And if you've got a tapered spline or a tapered keyed shaft, it's really easy. One end's narrow, one end's wide. The wide end of the taper goes towards your back plate. On a spline center section, it's not so easy to tell. So just remember that the fatter end goes towards your back plate. So we're going to make a sandwich, stack those together, and put this on top. Now on a six spring clutch, it can kind of go on any way. On one of these 3 spring clutches, you have to pay attention, because these holes are for your pins and these holes are for your bolts. And if you get them wrong, your bolts may not go through. So there you go. Your pins are there, your bolts. You can see how that's recessed there. So now we're just going to start our bolts. And again, 9/16. Or was it half? Oh, these are half. Okay. Probably easier to do with a ratchet. Well, let's go ahead and get a ratchet out. Of course, 1/2-inch ratchet is wildly overkill for this, but that's what I got on hand right now. And we're gonna go around and we're gonna tighten all these down evenly all the way around until the springs bottom out. Now there's basically 2 ways to set these clutches. The manuals, they make a little tool and you can set it. Ideally, you want this clutch to break loose at 30 foot-pounds of torque. So they make a little socket that goes in there. I've seen a couple of them, they're pretty cool. Or you can use a bar, a foot-long bar and a weight scale. And you'll adjust these spring tensions until it breaks loose at 30 foot-pounds. Or, and this is the way I'm going to show you how to do it here, you tighten them down and what you're going to do is tighten them down, not lock them down tight, but get them sort of snug. And then you're going to back them off exactly 1/2 of a turn. So we've got them tightened down. Now we're going to back them all off 1/2 of a turn. And that should be right where we need it. Now we're going to go ahead and put our lock nuts and our lock washers on. And these are there to keep those bolts from backing out. Now I have seen a YouTube video where a guy set a clutch, this way, bottom it out, back it out 1/2, and then he checked it with a torque wrench. And I guess to no one's surprise, the Gravely engineers knew what they were doing. It broke loose at 30 foot-pounds. So I have no issues about doing it this way. So you want to tighten the lock nut without turning this. There's that one. Because if you turn this, now you're going to change your tension. There's this one. And this is a 3 spring clutch, so I only have 3, but if these were 6, you'd alternate them. You'd alternate tightening your springs down, just like, tightening the lug nuts on a car. You wouldn't go around in a circle. You'd kind of star pattern it back and forth. See, I just moved that wrench a hair. Back it off to where it was. And we're going to double check them all. There's that one. There's that one. And that's all there is to it. Now you can go ahead and reinstall your clutch. And this should break loose at about 30 foot-pounds and keep you from destroying your tractor. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe. And I will see you on another episode.